The Bible is a living word that reads us as we read it. It's a person, a voice that proves that time is not linear, as one sentence can confirm the past, guide the present, and declare the future. You are here. I am here. He is here. We are here. Right now. In the tomorrow of yesterday and in the yesterday of tomorrow. I thank you for joining today. So we're back. Thank you so much for joining once again. In our last episode, we talked about how the Israelites just kept making poor decisions and how their poor decisions landed them in the harsh oppression of this guy named Sisera. Sisera was the army commander of the king Jabin, and Sisera was very cruel to the Israelite people. When the Israelites finally cried out to the Lord for help, the Lord spoke to this woman who was a prophet, and he gave her instruction to call for this guy named Barak and let Barak know that he was going to lead the Israelite warriors into battle to fight against this dude, Sisera, and his army. When Barak spoke to Deborah, he was like, yeah, nah, I'm good. And he refused to go. He's like, I want to live. The only way that I will go is if you go with me. And a lot of people give this guy grief because they're like, he weak. He wouldn't go without this woman and whatever. But I think that it was very honorable and actually wise for him to want to go with a woman who heard from the Lord. That's a message in and of itself. So Deborah agreed to go with Barak, and she let him know, hey, you're going to win. The Lord is with you. You're going to have victory. But this victory will come at the hands of a woman. I'm just going to serve you that notice right now. And it absolutely did. If you listen to the last episode, you know that Sisera actually ran for his life. And this woman named Jael invited him into her tent. She was so hospitable, right? She invited him into her tent. She made sure he was nice and cozy. He ended up drifting off to sleep. And then she hammered a tent peg into his head and pierced him to the ground. So, with the army commander no longer being with the enemies, the Israelites were able to overcome the king and they were able to defeat King Jabin. And after that, there was peace within the land for 40 years. So that's where we pick up today. As you know, there's this pattern going on. So that after there's peace, then the Israelites start tripping again. And that's where we find ourselves now. The Israelites have fallen into sin once again. And the Lord handed them over now to the Midianites for 7 years. So the Midianites, they were savages also, and they were just so cruel that the Israelites were finding little hiding places in the mountains and in the caves. And whenever the Israelites planted crops, the Midianites and Amalekites would sweep through the town and they would destroy all of their crops, stripping them bare. And it's like the equivalent of somebody spending all of their time on their garden and just making sure they have fresh herbs and fresh fruits and vegetables, and then you just go trampling through and riding through on your skateboard. Like that was the level of disrespect that the Midianites and Amalekites had for the Israelites. So they destroyed all of their crops. On top of that, they actually took all of their livestock. They took the sheep, the goats, the donkeys, the cattle, and they left the Israelites with nothing to eat. So after 7 years, the Israelites cried out to the Lord, and the Lord, in his loving kindness, actually sent a prophet. So the prophet told the Israelites, this is what the Lord said, because somehow y'all keep missing it. I brought you out of slavery in Egypt. I drove your enemies out of the land and I gave it to you. I told you straight up, I am the Lord your God. And I told you not to be out here worshiping these other little gods that your enemies worship. But you didn't listen. And that's why you keep finding yourselves in this situation. So then the angel of the Lord actually went and he sat down under this tree. This tree belongs to this man named Joash. Now, Joash was part of the problem because he was an Israelite man who worshiped the gods of the people in the land. So much so, he actually had altars for these false gods and he had their sacred ornaments. So, Joash had a son named Gideon. And Gideon was very close to where the angel of the Lord sat under this tree. And he was actually threshing wheat on the bottom of a wine press because he was hiding from the Midianites. Remember, anytime that they would have crops, the Midianites and the Amalekites would sweep through and destroy the crops. Somehow, Gideon actually had a harvest of wheat, but he needed to separate the husk from the grain. And that's typically what people would do on a threshing floor. Threshing floors were generally built on a hill. And what they would do is they would toss up the wheat, and then the wind would assist because the wind would blow the husk away, and then the grain, which was heavier, would fall to the ground. But because Gideon was afraid of the Midianites, he needed to eat. He needed to do what he had to do. He was resourceful and he found himself at the bottom of a wine press, which was very comparable to like an in-ground pool that was dug into the bedrock that would be filled with grapes. And the people would step on the grapes, and that's how they would squeeze these grapes for their juice. And then the juice or the wine would fall from one basin into a separate basin that was typically dug a little bit underneath the upper basin or wine press. But here, Gideon wasn't stepping on grapes in the wine press. He was actually threshing wheat on the floor of the wine press. Again, a little bit harder because where's the wind, right? But anyway, he's doing what he had to do to make things happen. And while he was doing all of this, the angel of the Lord showed up and spoke to Gideon, and he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." And I imagine Gideon's looking around like, who are you talking to? And Gideon said respectfully, if the Lord is with us, why are we going through all of this? And that's a question that I hate to admit I've asked before. And I'm sure if you are honest, you have asked that question before also, or something very comparable to it. Like, yo, if you're with us, why are we suffering? Why are we struggling? Why are we dealing with the things that we're dealing with? And Gideon went on to say, he's like, I've heard about the Lord. I've heard his reputation. I've heard about all the miracles that he performed, and they telling stories about how he brought the people out of Egypt and all that other stuff. But whoop-de-doo, what good is all of that if then he ends up turning us over to the Midianites? And after Gideon had this very real, raw, and uncut moment of truth, speaking to the angel of the Lord spoke to him and he said, cool, go with the strength that you have and you rescue the Israelites from the Midianites because I'm sending you to do it. And at that time, Gideon's like, oh, excuse me, hold up, time out. Just pause because how can I rescue them? Don't you know my people? My people are the weakest clan of the whole tribe of Manasseh. And to top it off, as though that's not bad enough, I'm the least of them. How am I going to rescue the Israelites? I love the answer that the Lord gave him. He simply told him, I'll be with you. Don't even worry about all the details. All you need to know is that I'm going to be with you. All of the times that we find ourselves in situations where God calls us to do something, where we feel like we are not enough or where we don't have enough, where we feel like we are the weakest link, it's important for us to know it is not us who qualifies us. It's the Lord who qualifies us. And he didn't have to qualify us when he's with us. The fact that the Lord told him straight up, like, don't worry about it. Just know that I'll be with you. Gideon, again, I like this guy because he's very relatable. He's very honest. And I can see some of the things that I've done before and how he is responding to the Lord in a very real way. Because after the Lord told him, I'm going to do it through you, I'm going to rescue the people through you. And Gideon's like, me? The Lord told him, hey, I'm going to be with you. And then Gideon hit him with this. He said, prove it. If you're really going to be with me, I need to be sure of that. So prove it. Then Gideon said, he's like, hold up, just sit tight. Don't go anywhere. I got something for you. And so the Lord said, I'll stay. Like, I won't go anywhere. Then Gideon went, he rushed home. He cooked a young goat and he baked bread. Now, pause there. Yes, you heard that right. He cooked a young goat and he baked bread. Now, remember, the people are in a position where they don't have food just coming and going like that. They're under oppression where these bullies keep coming through and taking their livestock, keep destroying their crops. So the fact that he even had a young goat was very significant. The fact that he was willing to give this young goat, sacrifice this young goat, and present it as a gift to the Lord is even more significant. And he's able to bake bread because he's on the bottom of a wine press threshing wheat. He did what he had to do, but he didn't know that when he was doing what he had to do to survive, that it was going to end up being an offering that he could present to the Lord. So mind you, there's a food scarcity because the Midianites, they took the goats, they took the lambs, they took the donkeys, the cattle, all that, and they destroyed the crops. But Gideon took the bread, he took some meat, he took some broth, and he presented them to the angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord told him, this is what I need you to do. I need you to place the meat and the bread on this rock right there. Then I need you to pour the broth on top of it. So Gideon did as he was told, and then the angel, he touched the meat and the bread with the tip of his staff, and then fire just flamed up from the rock and consumed everything. Then, poof, it just disappeared. And Gideon's like, oh my God. Like literally, he's like, oh my God. I just saw the angel of the Lord face to face. Like, this is it. I'm done for. Then the Lord spoke to Gideon once more and he told him, he's like, nah, you good. Don't be scared. You're good. Gideon, in this expression of worship, he built an altar. And later on that night, he got a visit once again from the Lord. And the Lord told him, he's like, okay, I know what I told you. I'm going to use you. You're going to rescue the Israelites. He said, before you go and defeat the enemy, there's some business you need to take care of at home first. And then the Lord told Gideon, I need you to take that 7-year-old bull that your pops has, which I find so significant because it's 7 years that the people have been under oppression. So their hiding game was strong because they hid goats, they hid bulls. Like, anyway, the Lord told him, he said, take that 7-year-old bull that your pop has, and I need you to pull down the altar that your dad has dedicated to the gods of the people. And I also need you to cut down that wooden pole dedicated to their little goddess that they serve. And then build me an altar. And when you build the altar, sacrifice the bull as a burnt sacrifice. And you can use the pole as firewood. Gideon took 10 of his servants, and under the cover of the night, he's shaking in his sandals, right? Because these people are serious about their gods. But under the cover of the night, he did exactly as the Lord commanded, and he destroyed the altar of the idol gods, and he chopped down the wooden pole that was dedicated to the goddess. In the morning, the people of the town looking around, and they realized something's changed. When they realized that the altar and the pole of their idol gods were broken down, they threw a fit. They were asking around. They were trying to really do some investigation, trying to figure out who did it. And when they found out it was Gideon, they were ready to take him out. But his pop spoke up for him. So Joash, the one who actually had the altars up, right, defended him. He said, yo, why you defending this little guy? If it's really a guy, he could defend himself, right? He told him, he's like, if you have a problem, you can deal with me. Not long afterwards, the Midianites, Amalekites, and some more of the hooligans decided that they were going to team up and pay the Israelites another visit. And the Spirit of the Lord wrapped himself around Gideon with power. And Gideon then he started summoning warriors from the tribes of Manasseh and the tribe of Asher and Zebulun and Naphtali, and he was just trying to get things in order. And before he moved forward, he had another conversation, a very real, transparent conversation with the Lord. And Gideon said to him, he said, listen, if you are real, like if you real for real, and you're gonna use me to rescue the Israelites, prove it. I'm gonna put this fleece on the ground. And if the fleece is wet with dew in the morning, but the ground is dry, I'll know that you're gonna help me rescue the Israelites. And that's exactly what happened. And so Gideon was like, okay, 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 okay. Don't be mad. But let's do it again. This time, let's do the reverse. Let the fleece be dry and let the ground around it be wet. Yahweh, again, in his grace and in his mercy, in his love and in his kindness, because the Lord doesn't have to prove himself to anybody. But the fact that he was willing to confirm for Gideon that he was going to be with him is so merciful and just so loving. So the Lord did it. He allowed the fleece to be dry and the ground to be wet. After that, Gideon and his army, they got up early in the morning and they started toward the enemies. And when they started toward the enemies, the Lord said something very significant to Gideon. He said, Gideon, I'm looking at your army. I'm looking at how many warriors you have with you. You have too many. I imagine that Gideon's looking around like, hold up. What what do you mean we have too many? We about to go to battle. You can never have too many warriors in battle. And we're gonna stop right there for now because I want to pick up on how the Lord just shows himself and how he so deeply longs for his people to know that he alone is the one who gives us victory over any battle that we face. But we'll talk about that more in the next episode if the Lord blesses me to record another one. I do want to make note, it's wonderful that Gideon was able to have these very raw conversations with the Lord. And I love the fact that God entertained it. I also believe that as we mature in our relationship with God, at some point we get to a place where we no longer have to ask him to prove himself. Right now, if you're in the early stages and you really don't have your own personal realization of God's track record in your life, then I understand having those moments where you ask him and you have those real conversations like, Lord, if you're real, or prove it, why would you use me? How could you use me? Like it gets to a point where we need to start having real conversations with our Savior and our Lord and stop thinking that we have to be extra Christiany when we talk to him. Mind you, talk to him with respect, but also be real with yourself because otherwise you're living in a facade. You don't want your faith to be a facade. And so have the real conversations, but know that at some point, as the Lord continues to show you, as the Lord continues to prove, as the Lord continues to overthrow our doubts, because he's so supportive and he's so present, there does come a time when you realize, hey, I don't even have to ask him to prove himself anymore. If he said it, it's as good as done. I desire for all of us to get to a point of relationship with God where that is the case. And we recognize if he is with me, like he said that he's with me, he alone is more than enough. And so I'm really excited to get into our next episode if the Lord blesses me to record another one. Until then, bye for now.